Joined live now by Rear Admiral retired Raja Menon, a former submariner and a security analyst. I want to go across to him to get a perspective from a veteran submariner about today's accident. Admiral Menon, this submarine, INS Sindhuratna, had just returned from a refit. In fact, in December, it had just returned from a refit. What it was doing off the coast of Mumbai actually involved the workup and the acceptance trials. What could explain this mishap at this point of time, sir?
We don't know enough to speculate on what exactly caused the accident, but there is some information coming that there was the Commodore in charge of the squadron and a senior officer on board, which seems to indicate that the submarine may have been undergoing readiness inspection. In these inspections, the submarine is put through various drills, and it may have been that the submarine had been asked to simulate various emergencies, and we don't know the circumstances, particularly since the accident occurred in the battery compartment.
Yes.
Normally one associates batteries with the evolution of hydrogen and hydrogen explosion, but there is some report that this may have been caused by Freon, but it's still unclear as to what exactly caused the accident. But there are reports that smoke was coming out of the submarine, so one is not clear as to whether there was an explosion or not.
Admiral Menon, as a submariner, could you explain for the benefit of our viewers what happens during an emergency of this kind? And as a submariner, you're well aware of the margins of error and the very unforgiving sort of response time available to the crew of a submarine in the event of such an emergency, sir.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, what is of interest here is not the fact that an emergency took place, but what was the reaction of the crew to the emergency? Because the crew is normally trained in dealing with emergencies of this kind. It looks as though the crew has dealt successfully with this particular emergency and managed to rescue the sailors who had obviously breathed something less than pure air, as a result of which they have had to be evacuated. But I know people would be tending to look at the fact that there have been a series of accidents, but I must say that a lot of these accidents are not really accidents. I mean, for instance, the previous incident of the submarine touching the bottom.
Yes.
That's not really an accident. I mean, that's more a staff problem, in the sense that the harbour was not dredged properly.
Yes.
And one needs to look at as to why the dredging contract was not given on time, or whether the dredging contract has been held up in Delhi. So there are other issues to be looked at here.
Admiral Menon, is there an emergency procedure problem? Taking off on the first part of your last answer, could there be procedural problems? Because this isn't the first mishap, as we've been reporting, on board an Indian submarine or a ship of this nature. Fires breaking out, the emergency response happening in a certain way. Do you believe that it's possible that there's a procedural problem?
I don't think that we can ascribe a procedural problem as yet. But of course, the Board of Inquiry will establish the exact causes. One must accept the fact that submarining is not a normal profession.
Yes.
It is a hazardous profession. And the fact that fires can occur and batteries may undergo severe stresses are all part of submarine life. But as I said earlier, the important issue is how does the crew deal with the emergency? And from the information that has come so far, it seems that the crew have dealt adequately with this particular emergency.
Admiral Menon, we are well aware of just what an unbelievably difficult, profession submarining really is. So I don't want you to think that, we're making too many assumptions here. But since the INS Sindhurakshak tragedy that happened last year, the submarining arm has been coming to terms with a spate of accidents. I know you were talking about the running aground problem, but do you think there's something deeper? Does the Navy need to look look a little deeper into certain aspects of the submarine arm right now?
Well, I don't think there is anything wrong with the submarine service as such, but there definitely is a case for investigating as to why these submarines are not getting their newer replacements. I mean, the Scorpion class should really have started rolling off the production line by now.
Yes.
And I think the first of these Kilo class would have been about 30 years old. I mean, that's a long time for a submarine. And
Admiral,
if the battery is not in a new condition, it can give off hydrogen and be the cause for a submarine accident.
Admiral Menon, thanks very much for giving us your perspective on this story. We were going to continue to track it and report it as closely and as sensitively as possible. 2 naval officers tragically are feared dead, we're getting from our sources.